nonprofits, small businesses, and entertainers in the 417 listening area. Sometimes we're having some glitches here. You may be watching this live. If so, you may experience some technology glitches, but even if you don't, you'll be happy either way. Nick, you're my guest today. If we can get that banner up there for Nick, that would be cool. So thank you for that. So Nick, you're a financial representative and all that blah, 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 hooey, 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 waddy, waddy, waddy. But you know, before we do all that, or in addition to that, there's an extremely important story here. It's all about your ability to overcome obstacles in a pretty tragic scenario earlier in life.
Yeah, it was rough to say it nicely.
Yeah, so kind of describe some of that. Some of the people that we have in our viewing audience, they struggle with mental health issues, with addictions. A lot of the people that work here have overcome some of that extreme situation. So we can relate, a lot of us can. Personally, my wife and I were married for about 18 years with 4 boys, and she decided she wanted to leave me. I wasn't being truthful with her. So I had a horrible impasse in my life.
Yeah.
I had a solid church life, really well known, a person that was represented in the community with a stable thing. That identity was erased when all of that took place because she moved out, the boys moved out. I didn't have any recognition.
The vodka with water afterwards, you know, whenever I got into it. And, you know, when I moved up to Springfield and got into high school and things like that, started hanging out with people who were doing other things. And right after my freshman year, my mom and my dad had been divorced for a long time. And my dad lived in Florida, and I'd always go down to visit him over the summer. But my dad had it was kind of a odd thing, but he got injured where he was working at, and they gave him some pain medication, and he had an allergic reaction to it, and he went into cardiac arrest and died.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old was he?
He was 36.
So you were
35
what age?
years. I was 15. It was right after my freshman year. I was actually on my way. I was pretty good at baseball, and I was actually on my way to.
He's a young dad.
It was.
They were young parents.
Yeah. I was on my way down to play in a national baseball tournament in Texas.
Wow.
And instead of getting on my flight the following morning to go down to Texas, I got on a flight to go to Florida. And, you know, that drove me even deeper into that, you know. I started partying more, I started drinking more. School, I went from a straight A student to, you know, barely graduating high school. And we moved out to Rogersville right after my sophomore year, and that's whenever I started getting involved in drugs pretty heavily. I met somebody who we hit it off, and you know, he introduced me to, you know, the world of everything, and you know, I got involved in about anything you can think of.
Now, why do people do that? What are they looking for? That's the fix for the time.
You know, a lot of people do it to cope with the reality. A lot of people do it as kind of an escape. You know, I could tell you at one point in time it started with fun, and then it became a point where I couldn't just not do it. You know, there were times I would try to quit, and I had plenty of reasons. Whether, you know, when I was 18, I overdosed and woke up in the hospital. You know, and I really wanted to stop. It scared me. I couldn't. You know, right after my senior year of high school, I got arrested for possession of a controlled substance, and 2 months after that is whenever I overdosed, and roughly a year later is when I got into drug court, and that's essentially what helped me get on a new path. I mean,
so did you hide that from your mom, or was that something?
It was pretty out there.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to all of this, you know, I blamed a lot of it on the fact of my dad dying, you know, which my problems are there before that happened. That just enhanced it. You know, I had multiple suicide attempts before they overdosed and before they arrested, and I was seeing a therapist and all of that. And my therapist was probably one of the first people to really look at maybe your problem's more about the drugs and alcohol and not all this other stuff you want to blame it on. and like he knew he could only help me so much.
Right.
You know, and when I got into drug court, they made me stay at a recovery house, and that's when they made me start going to recovery groups.
Okay.
And I didn't really take at first because I was 19 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I didn't really think my problem was as serious as it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody in that situation today?
What would I say to somebody in that situation
Yeah.
today? Look at the facts. Look at your life. You know, look where you are now, and I promise you it will get worse if you continue down the path. Because from the time I got into drug court to the time I got sober, you know, I went through 2 different rehabs, and I eventually had to do about 4.5 months in prison.
Is that how you got off controlled substances?
It helped. It helped. When I got out of prison in 2008, and I still got the opportunity to go back in drug court and able to keep everything off my record. But it's when I really got involved into programs, and I got very active, and I started going back into treatment centers and things like that, and you know, talking to people in there. And about 3 years ago now, I got to start a recovery group in the Christian County Jail.
Okay.
That I have been doing, well, up until COVID started. I'm actually going to start back up next week. But you know, a recovery meeting every single Sunday morning.
Oh.
So
you're a Christian County resident?
Yeah.
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 Where did
I felt alone, because I come from a family that most of my family outside of my mom are very, they're very successful. You know, they don't have the problems that I have. And I remember one conversation very clearly. I was about 18 years old. My aunts were up from Texas.
Yeah.
And, you know, they asked me, they said, why don't you just stop? Why can't you just stop?
Right.
And the reality is, like, I asked her, I said, don't you think I tried? Don't you think I want to? You know, like, people who don't live that lifestyle and who don't understand and haven't lived through addiction and alcoholism don't understand it, and there's no way you can make them understand
I
it.
couldn't imagine putting substances in my body, so
Yeah.
you're right.
You know,
I don't understand
and that's okay. You know, it's not my job to help people understand who haven't lived through it, because
You're right.
You know, one of my main purposes in life.
We're
today,
just the people saying, why would you do that?
exactly,
So
and
why
that's
don't you
okay.
stop?
I'm glad you don't understand
It's
it.
like, why would I want to understand something harmful?
Yeah.
Stop. And you're saying, don't you think I've tried?
Yeah. You know.
I want to stop.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time in my life at that point in time where I woke up every single day and I was upset. I woke up.
Yeah, disappointed to be alive.
Yeah. You know, I mean, when I came to in the hospital for my drug overdose at 18 years old, the doctor said you're lucky to be alive, and I was mad.
Yeah, you didn't want to be alive.
No.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was a feeling that I remember just like yesterday. You know, and the fact that there was a series of events that happened that were totally out of my control, and I call it definitely a God thing today. You know, because the biggest thing that woke me up, it was right after I got out of prison. That individual that I met when I moved to Rogersville, like I said, we became very close. His name was Zach. You know, he died 2 days after I got out of prison.
Wow.
You know, and I found out later that he was waiting to get a bed in a treatment center.
Oh man.
You know,
he could have gotten
he was 20 years old.
Oh.
And that was my biggest wake up call. And you know, it's
could have been you.
The only reason it wasn't me is because I got help essentially forced on me by the state of Missouri.
Yes.
And I didn't think I needed
got
it.
caught.
Yeah. It was the greatest thing that happened.
Your charge was possession, and your sentence time was what?
So, initially it was called a suspended imposition, which means I didn't plead guilty or not guilty.
Right.
And as long as I completed drug court, then it was all off my record. And I had to take an extended tour through drug court. It's usually an 18-month program. It took me 3 years and 9 months. But whenever I went...
So serving time, you didn't actually...
there was no serving time until I kept messing up, and then eventually they had me go do a 120 in prison.
Yeah.
And I went to Fulton, and then I went to Kramer Therapeutic Community Center.
Okay.
And it wasn't very therapeutic.
So that program designed to to get you acclimated back into society?
So I was in there with men who had been locked up for 20, 30 years. You know, but it was a criminal thinking or a cognitive behavioral therapy type program, you know, and you know, it's and I didn't want to relate to, and I could see where my life would be going if I continued what I was doing. You know, I mean, that's something I still remember. In fact, I still carry my prison ID on me every single day.
Just a reminder.
Yeah.
My sister went through 120, and that was a way to get clean, but it wasn't a way to change the way you think completely. There's still addictive behaviors, a narcissistic disorder. Yeah. Everything was about her. So help me understand. A police officer friend of mine said that's a common thing from intravenous drug users, or probably all drug users, is that narcissism. They need that immediate fix in their life, and if they don't, they blow up or they change their environment. They can't deal with a situation that they don't agree with.
So in some of our recovery literature, there's a line, and it says selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of all of our problems.
Okay. Well, we're going to be taking a commercial break, and that's something we're going to pick up on. We're talking to Nick Lisnock. Lisnock, it's got the Z sound. And I'm Johnny Rooster. I'm your host. We are on the Morning Mouth, and we talk about life situations, and we talk about small business. We talk about a lot of things. And we're going to be right back after these important messages.
Who are you?
Yes, Johnny Rooster. I have a show on Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Axe Media Group known as AMG Broadcasting to promote small businesses and local entertainers and nonprofits. Welcome back. I'm Johnny Rooster, your host. It's Morning Mouth. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. on a live stream, YouTube, Facebook. If you're watching it at another time, that's what you do on YouTube and Facebook. And there's internet TV and internet radio and all those options for you. AMG Broadcasting. If you'd like to be part of the program, you'd need to be an entrepreneur with your own small business, be an independent agent, or if you have a nonprofit you're responsible for, or perhaps you're a performing artist. You can do that by going to the guest sign up on JohnnyRoosterLive.com. That's JohnnyRoosterLive.com. Okay, folks, May 15th, we're going to do Party on the Property. That is my place. You come on out. If you're in the 417 area, let us know. JohnnyRoosterLive.com. You can check that out. On the 15th, it's a Saturday. We consider ourselves new friends or existing friends. So bring your own food to grill, meat, whatever you want to bring to drink. We'll be there ready for you. We have a rural property southeast of Springfield. So check in on that.com for details about that, or find me on Facebook or YouTube if you know how to do so. If you don't, you're probably not close enough to party with us. All right, guys. So we're talking to Nick. And Nick has quite a background. He's got a financial life now. So we're going to transition into that real quickly here and talk about some of the things he's able to help us with. But if you're going from so many dark things, you're going through rehab, so to speak, prison, what was the most helpful step, or what was the most help to you getting on a stable life?
Realizing that I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
You know, that was essentially it. Realizing that I had no way of... I couldn't manage my life.
Yes. Wasn't up to you to manage it. How did you reply to that? What do you do? Is it a spiritual breakthrough? What is it?
Kind of was. I mean, I would call it more of a breakdown first. Okay. You know, I had to get to a point where I was completely miserable and just empty on the inside.
Was that a moment after rehab, before? Or
no,
during?
It was actually the moment that I turned myself in to go to prison.
Okay.
I went on my last little 2-day bender.
Yep.
And it wasn't by far the most or anything that I had done, but just coming off of that and laying on that mattress that they give you in green, having this thought that I can't do this anymore.
Right.
You know, that I made a decision that I was gonna, you know, I had been around certain recovery programs and things like that. They would let people come in whenever I was in rehab, and there was one individual that I knew I wanted to reach out to the second I could, and I made a decision that I was gonna.
Now you're 33.
Mm-hmm.
You went through a marriage. You're now in another marriage, a new marriage.
Yes. Yep.
A new life. Been to Hawaii recently.
Just got back.
In Hawaii.
Yeah.
So what was that like? What did you walking on a volcano? I saw.
Yes.
Some pictures.
Yeah. We did a lot of hiking.
It looked like a earthquake hit a parking lot. The way I described it, black asphalt look.
Yeah. That was just the active volcano there. Unfortunately, didn't get to see any lava flows.
Okay. No real cool pictures of that.
No, nothing like that. It erupted back in 2018, but
really?
Yeah. It was. I think December of 2018 was the last time it erupted.
Is there a safe distance between people and lava?
There is. You know, the only way.
Is there a police line do not cross?
Well, all that lava is essentially cooled off.
Okay.
But
if something was happening, how close can someone be?
Right up on it.
Wow.
I mean, if you're dumb enough, you can go touch it.
So they don't restrict it.
No, they try to, but I mean, they.
That's bringing out my inner Jurassic Park. Okay,
well,
that's fun.
It was filmed on Kauai, actually.